Hey there friends, and welcome to my early game guide for Spellcaster University. I'm Icon, and in this video we're going to talk about how to optimize the early game in a way that you can get your school running as fast as possible. I'm also going to talk about what kind of things I consider as the most important things and how to prepare for the star quests accordingly to make them as easy as possible. We're going to cover also what kind of things you need to get the school rolling as quick as possible. And yeah, let's get started, shall we? When you start out at a new map, you always want to unlock the 5 mana colors as quick as possible, because this gives you access to all the different cards in the game, which is really important. When you start out, you always get a certain set of bonuses to pick from a prefixed selection, and for example here at the lake we can get either arcane and alchemy mana, which is really appealing because arcane and alchemy mana are the hardest to acquire, and we can take this one, which is entirely not interesting because no mana colors, and we can get a shadow or a light room. So I'm going to go for the arcane and the alchemy mana, even though that's not a reliable source of these colors. If you want to have reliability, just go for the shadow room, or you know what, for the sake of the tutorial we're going to go for reliability. So now we have 2 colors already in our pocket. We have shadow and light mana. So let's place them down and select our teachers. Here always go for the best possible teachers and keep an eye out for good traits, but that's not the topic of this tutorial. We're going to place down these basic rooms here, and after that's been done, I'm going to place down the dormitory, the students' hall, and the refectory on top of that. Now we're going to pick up a couple of students, and we're going to put them into the general class. Picking up all the students at the beginning is not necessarily a bad choice. The house cards I'm going to hold back until later. You can also play them at the beginning, but I personally like to hold them back a bit. And now we're going to draft a couple of cards. So here we see that we only have access to the shadow room, which would be actually what I want, but I already have a copy, so not interested. In this case, we're going to take another dormitory card, because these are service rooms and these are really appealing. At the beginning of the game you always want a couple of service rooms more. So we keep drafting and keep looking for different mana sorts, but we're sadly not getting anything done here. Private apartments, basically every service building for teachers, is also very appealing, so we're going to pick up that. And here we get extremely unlucky and we don't get any new mana colors to boot with. That's unfortunate, but certainly not the end of the world. There are methods to acquire what we need. At the end of the day, you should always be able to get through this topic at the end of year 1 at the latest. It's always a little bit down to RNG. You can't really guarantee anything here. So the peasants are paying us a visit. The peasants are a fixed event which happens on every map, so it's also very important. They always offer you light, nature, or shadow mana. In this scenario we already have light and shadow mana sources, so we're going to roll for the nature mana source. Keep in mind, whenever you just pick up mana, you only get a chance of getting a room. As you see here, we don't. So we're going to pick up something here, which is not that important. The other thing I really like to focus in the early game are mana gold generating items, because they are really powerful. So the king pays us a visit, and this is also a fixed event. The king always comes and generates either 200 gold, or you can get a specialized room. The advanced rooms, as they are called here, are always specialized schooling rooms or other different things. In this scenario, it's hard to tell. If you have already most of the general rooms, like 3 or 4 colors, at this point you are possibly very well off with a specialized room. If you are like I'm here in shortage of different colors, rather take the money, because we can transform that into something useful. So here we get the arcane room, which is really cool. We get a purple room down. So I'm not going to place down any further rooms at this point. I just keep the bare minimum on the table. due to reasons I will explain in a minute. So the Adventurers Guild always says hi at some point too, and they provide you another roll on your luck to get some mana colors. This one is code language for white and green mana. This one is code language for blue and shadow mana, arcane and shadow mana, and this is alchemy mana. Since I already have light, shadow, and arcane, I'm going to roll for the alchemy mana because I know that nature is way easier to acquire. So we're going to go for that, and sadly we didn't get that lucky. Alright, so the trinkets choice sometimes rolls alchemy items or alchemy rooms or, like you saw there, artifacts. Okay, so this event is not early game related. The next guinea pig that's coming up, I'm going to send to the Sneaky Merchant campsite. Before I go there, a few words though. The Orc camp can reliably generate nature mana for you. The Inquisition Monastery generates reliably light mana for you. And the Lord of Evil can generate shadow mana for you. These are your sources for mana if you want to get something going at the beginning. But really important too, the merchants offer you for 200 gold classrooms. And these classrooms are always generalistic classrooms. As you see here, there's everything you need. So right now, the only thing we're missing is nature mana, but we're going to get there. So here we get our first light items. I'll pick up the Hero's Chapel because this is a specialized learning room, but I'm not going to install it right now. So at this point, we're going to place down our houses. You can also wait a little bit longer, but I don't want to at this point. I really like to go for specialized schools or athletes. One thing that's really cool in the early game, whenever you can get a hold of it, are popular houses. Doubles the prestige gain or loss at the end of the studies. Combine that with Deep Folk and you have a really, really powerful house, because Deep Folk push back the Lord of Evil for 1% per prestige point gained when they end their studies at your school. So popular houses with Deep Folk are just way to go. Since we are now here very unlucky towards the gold side, and that happens quite often, when you don't have the luck to roll any gold items, or you don't end up as lucky as I am here with the mana colors, and you just need more gold, at the headmaster's office you can either increase the application fee, which will reduce the amount of students coming in, but at the end of the day more money per recruitment, or you can also put a fee on the dormitories. This yields them less effective, but your students will pay money whenever they go to bed. This is a really good early game setting when you struggle with gold. The other options I don't like to go for. You can also reduce the salaries, or you can also reduce the salaries. There's not too much beyond getting a sponsor, but this will tank your prestige and is no short-term solution. Okay, that's going to help us here too. And here's the Archmage quest. No, thank you. We're not going to roll that one. So now we're going to just pick up a couple of students more, place down our artifacts here, and wait a moment. I don't want to place down any other rooms at the moment, due to a specific reason there. But the general rooms, if you don't want to stress it out as I do here, you can also place them down early on. I'm going to explain why I don't place down the arcane room in a minute. So the next guinea pig coming in, we don't have the money to visit the sneaky campsite, so we're going to pay a visit to the orcs. That will give us some nature mana. This way we can also sneak in and grab us some extra mana here. Eventually this will kickstart our nature production, but for now we're going to put a fee on the beds because we are low on gold, and hope that we're going to get some nature mana sooner or later. So the next thing I'm waiting for is now the headmaster to come in with this neato little quest. So here you see, that's the reason why I didn't place down too many rooms yet. You get to select which kind of school, which kind of futures you want to train, And as we see here, we can go either for Beast Magic people, Druidism people. Since we don't have any nature mana yet, this is a horrible choice. So we're going to go for the quest for Vigilantes. We need Retribution and Heroism. I already have a Generalistic Light room, and I already have a Heroism room. In this scenario, I would only put up another Retribution room and leave the last stat completely out of the equation until I am done with this curriculum quest. By holding back your schoolrooms like that, you can make an easier roll to that. The general rooms don't really bother you, but if you want to be really try hard on this one, you would deny the general light room and only pick up the retribution room and the heroism room. But this is not a reliable way to do it, since you need a general room, a light room, to generate the mana to get all those rolls on those specialized rooms. Therefore, my personal strategy is to have one generalistic room as a early game goal of every color, and afterwards only specialized rooms, or no, afterwards all the specialized rooms except for the curriculum quest, where I select really carefully which specialized rooms I want to have. If you have a multicolor quest, for example, it would be light and alchemy, then I would stick with a light general room, an alchemy general room, and only pick up the specialized rooms to finish that quest. But that's just one thing on the side. Now we have the last things here done. Let's pick up light specialist, because that's an easy way to do it. And now, well, now it's up to us to acquire that last mana color. We can either go for rolls at the sneaky merchant campsite or stress out our relationships with the orcs. It's not unusual to end up with a lack or a shortage of one color in the early game. You can consider yourself quite lucky when you get all the colors really quickly. But with these methods, it should be really no issue to have all the colors running at the end of the first year or such. Okay. So the last thing that I want to emphasize during the early game is that you should definitely try to focus into gold generation and, of course, mana generation. We already talked about that. Once that's all set up and done, your next goals would be to increase the amount of service buildings like dormitories, refectories, private apartments and such, and increase the diversity of the school. And from that point on, the early game is over. One last thing for the early game: don't pick up too many students, but don't turn down students just because here we go. We get the dolmen in exchange for the 100 nature mana that we acquired from the orcs. Like I said, one way or another, you will get those points. So, I'm going to summarize here the things about the early game one last time. The early game goals are get a steady supply of mana of all 5 colors and get a steady supply of gold as quick as possible. When you want to finish the job quest, try to have only a general room at the beginning and put up specialized rooms once you know which kind of futures you need to breed, and then act accordingly. If this is too complicated for you, just don't give a crap about that and go for 2 stars and try to manipulate around that. This is a little bit of a finicky side, but the longer you play the game, the more you will see that this is not as hard as it looks like. To get the ball rolling, you can pick up schoolrooms at the Sneaky Merchant campsite, and the different mana colors: green from the Orc camp, light mana from the Inquisition, and shadow mana from the Lord of Evil. With arcane and alchemy mana, you need to tinker around how to pick them up, because sadly neither the guild nor the adventurers nor the king happen to give you any mana of whatever sort. The adventurers share artifacts. The villagers can create refectory cards for you, and the king is really good at pushing back the Lord of Evil later. If you need money at the beginning of the game, you can also trade Adventurers Guild and King's Fame for gold at these events, which is also a really good way to kickstart your room selection. Okay, I think that should have been somewhat helpful. If there are any questions left, just put them down in the comment section below if you think like there's something about the early game that I left out. Just comment away as well. Leave a thumbs up on that video if you felt like it was helpful, and of course check out my channel. There's daily content like this, and you just need to subscribe and turn on those notifications to not miss a thing. Also in the description box down there you'll find my Discord server, where you will find a fine array of nice people interested in all manner of different games. Maybe you want to check it out. And last but not least, there's also a link section down there entirely dedicated to supporting this video channel. You might want to check it out. I'd be really happy if you do. So, to round it up, let me thank you one more time for watching this video. This means more to me than you might think. Have a nice day and enjoy gaming. See you soon. Bye bye.